I'm in Salad and I saw Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. It is created by Brian Lee O'Malley. This is episode 1, Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life, directed by Abel Gongora. And if you haven't seen this episode, I will spoil it for you. This episode starts, and before I even get into the episode starting, if you've seen the movie at all, you might be like, I might have seen this before. I think this episode does a great job of going beat to beat to beat to beat, just kind of establishing the very beginning of what happens in Scott Pilgrim, just the series. We have Scott Pilgrim, he's a bassist in the band, and he's dating Knives, who's a 17-year-old, and then he meets Ramona Flowers in his dreams. And first of all, there's some differences in this. This is animated, and I really like the animation style. I'm a big fan of it. And I also like the colorfulness and the motionness. Okay, so when Scott Pilgrim sees Ramona Flowers in his dreams, we have Scott Pilgrim is not Scott Pilgrim. Ramona Flowers is skating, just just having a little skate, right? And I'm like, wow, this is cool. Wow, it was weird. The perspective of it going was weird. I was like, what was happening? I can't believe it. I don't know if I'm on solid ground because of the weird perspectives. And it was cool and artistic and intentional. I was like, wow, this is cool, right? And we have Scott Pilgrim and freaking Ramona Flowers. They're cute. I want them to get together, okay? I like the slight changes. We have Ramona Flowers, works for the mail delivery service known as Netflix. Do you remember the time which Netflix delivered DVDs? Because I do. I do, actually. I remember that time. And so he orders a DVD on Netflix, waits frickin' forever, then sees Ramona Flowers, then asks her out on a date, and then they go out together out on a date. It's real cute, and then they oh no, it's blizzarding time, let's have a little chill time, let's go into the bed, let's go into your place, Ramona Flowers, and she's got a cute cat, and then they have a little chill time, they have a little kiss, they have a little cute moment, and then it's they're in the bed, and I'm like, whoa, my goodness, it's cute. It's like the book. It's like the movie, it's like it. So it's like the source material, okay? So far it's pretty similar to the source material. This is an alternate timeline I've read. This is alternate timeline, so I'm like, okay, where does this divulge? Where does it go? Where does it go? Where does it diverge? So here's where it diverges. So of course we have the evil League of X's is the same. We have Matthew Patel is sent, and we have Scott Pilgrim, and we have Ramona Flowers, and they had a cool little party time place, and it's nice and cool, and they're having a little party time, and then friggin' Matthew comes in, he's like, I'm here to fight you, and friggin' Scott Pilgrim, I love it. He does the exact same, he does the ignoring the letter thing, and he's like, I don't know who you are, and then they fight, right? But what's interesting is that the fight is not long compared to Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's when we have the knockout shot, it's actually Matthew hits Scott Pilgrim square in the face, and then a bunch of coins appear, and then it's whoa, what's happening? Oh, Scott Pilgrim's gone. That's what happens. Okay, I'm intrigued, and I'm like, you know what? No, he's dead. I'm sad. Whatever shall we do? As soon as a bunch of coins appeared, I was like, oh no, Scott Pilgrim's dead. And everybody else is like, Scott Pilgrim's dead. And so, of course, the logical conclusion, right at this moment, Scott Pilgrim's dead, oh no! And then freaking Matthew Patel's like, ha ha ha, I did my good job. Ha 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 ha. And I'm like, man, this is so sad. Why did you have to come in and ruin everything, you freaking guy? You want Ramona Flowers to yourself? She's not gonna get back with you, idiot. That's the end. Oh my goodness, that's the end of the episode. It pretty much leaves it on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, oh my goodness, Scott Pilgrim's dead. Wow, I can't believe it. And that's what I'm feeling at the end of this first episode. So I liked it. It was very quaint. I liked the pacing. It felt comfy. I was like, okay, I really like the animation style. I find it's very creative. And it feels like an anime Scott Pilgrim. Cause like, I mean, it looks like the comic book, right? But like, it looks like if the comic book was a little bit more like of an anime art style, you know, kind of more of a, you know what I mean. So it was cute. I really liked it. Ramona's eyes are my favorite. I love her eyes. Her eyes are so big. I can't stop staring at her eyes. I love it. So, I think I gotta give this episode, it's a good introductory episode, and I'm excited to see where this series goes, because it's like, oh wow, it's different. Let's see. I think I gotta give this like a solid, it's like a solid like 7.4 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one. All these algorithms really like that. If you want to fast track a movie review, you can do that for $20 deals at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you'd like to help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movie reviews, you can go to this link tree, find the way you can help support the daily grinding of all them daily movie reviews. So you can go here, and until next time, mint salad, so I'll see you later, my sour croutons and bacon bits. I'm in salad, and I saw Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. It is created by Brian Lee O'Malley. Episode 2 is called A League of Their Own, directed by Tomohisa Shimiyama. And oh my goodness, it starts at a funeral. Let's cry. First of all, how did Scott manage to get Envy? She's like ridiculously hot. And I'm like looking at her, and I'm like, she's so sparkly. Oh my goodness. She's more sparkly than she has been ever in the freaking movie. She's ultra sparkly. And I'm like, this is so cool. I just like looking at her. She's so pretty. And so, you know, she's adorable. She's cute. And also, I like how everyone's like looking at her. Freaking Knives is like fangirling over her. She's like, oh yeah, oh my god, yeah, hoo hoo hoo. Also, freaking traitor Knives. What a traitor Knives is. Oh my goodness, she's like, oh, phew, actually, Sex Bomb is no longer my favorite anymore. No, it's a different band, not your band. Yours like my favorite band that actually isn't a band, and that's an insult. Insulting. Why did you insult me, Knives? Why did you insult the frickin'... why did you insult them, the Sex Bomb? Okay, you insulted me personally because I thought that you were, like, super fan. And now you're just like, oh, I'm gonna switch. I'm switching now because now I have, like, I'm no longer interested in Scott. He's gone. But I am interested in this really hot lady. So I'm gonna be, like, looking over her. And she just, phew, switched. I'm like, no integrity. Freaking Knives. Well, she's 17. She doesn't know what she wants. I get it. But still. You know... nothing about knives. No more knives. No more knives talk, okay? I ain't about that. I am about, and I really like how we have Ramona Flowers is dealing with all of this. Everyone is depressed. Everyone's sad. Everyone's talking about how they miss Scott Pilgrim. How they're like, oh wow, he was like literally here yesterday, and now he's gone. Man, I was just talking to him the other day. Wow. And this moment I'm watching and I'm like, I love it. It's like shows the mourning process. There's like I'm introduced to the mourning process of all these characters and how everyone's dealing with it in their own individual ways. And I'm just like, I love it. Okay. Please. I'm like just soaking in the funeral, right? And you know what also happens at the funeral? As soon as Envy Adam comes in. Because I talked about the events out of order. But Envy Adam comes in and she's like, alright, let's make this a funeral of freaking party. And then she just starts performing and starts like dancing. And I'm like, bro, oh my goodness. You're just let's make this a rock concert. It was a funeral. It's freaking Scott Pilgrim's funeral. And they're like, yeah, I'm bumping. But at the same time, there's like fun, like, shots of the family that's just like mourning Scott Pilgrim's loss. And they're just like, yeah, Scott Pilgrim's gone. And it's everyone else is like having a blast. It's just really funny. I really liked that scene. Time to pick up another plot thread. The evil exes exist. And oh no, Matthew got rejected by Ramona Flowers. And he's like, oh my goodness, I could have got rejected by Ramona Flowers? What? Oh my goodness, how could this happen? I gotta get my guys and I gotta tell them about it. And they're like, what? Whoa, I can't believe it. We don't get with Ramona Flowers? Oh! And you know, that's fun to watch them realize. And I'm like, oh, well, what's your plan? What's your plan? And I really like this. There seems to be an ego battle going on within the team. Matthew Patel versus Gideon. Gideon be like, I have all the resources. I have a multimedia franchise. I have all the money in the world. You, Matthew, suck, and I don't think you'll defeat me. And so they challenge each other to a fight, and they have a bit of pure duel. And it's freaking Matthew has all these like little energy. He's like, and he does all of that, and I'm like, whoa! I'm doing it. I really like their battle scene. And then, you know, spoiler, of course, all of my reviews have spoilers in them. So they have a little moment where Gideon is like hanging from the side of the building, and Matthew's like, give me your stuff, forfeit. And I was like looking at Gideon, I'm like, bro, just let go. This is your highest you're ever gonna do. Come on, just let go. And I'm just like, you should just let go. But he doesn't. Instead, he signs away everything to freaking Matthew. And I'm like, what's your plan, bro? What's your plan? What you gonna do? Oh, he has something up his sleeve. He has to have something up his sleeve. Because he's Gideon. He's ultra high knowledge of everything. He has big brain over here. Matthew's just like, I got a little bit of power now. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use it now to get Ramona Flowers. And also, what's fun is that Ramona Flowers goes into Dream World. This scene, it was a little bit hard for me to interpret. So Ramona Flower goes into Dream World, the same world that she was like skating in. And then Scott Pilgrim, because of that, is alive. And from this, it doesn't say explicitly. I think that they have like some sort of connection within like the dream world, and it's like specific to them. But she's just like, oh my goodness. She wakes up. She's like, oh my goodness, Scott Pilgrim's alive. And that's the end. So she dreams the dream world, and then she's like, oh wow, I'm awake, and Scott Pilgrim's alive, and that's the end of the episode. I'm like, okay, I'm interested. Those are big moments that really stuck with me in this episode. If I missed something, let me know in the comments below. But I really enjoy this episode. This is fun. I'm like, oh, I'm intrigued. Of course, Scott Pilgrim's not dead. Why would he? His name is in the title. That makes sense. Wow, I'm actually got some hope. I got some hope. Maybe he and Ramona Flowers could be together. That'd be cool. So, I really like the colors, so vibrant. The animation and the fight scene was great. I really liked it. There was some moments, correct me if I'm wrong. I had some guesses on which animation software was being used during which parts. Like, earlier in the episodes, I guess because of like how the perspective was changing in like a 3D manner, with like the camera around the characters, I thought it was like animated in Blender. And then later on, when it's Ramona Flowers later in her like apartment with her cat, I was like, oh, like the brushes are different. You know, the brushes kind of remind me of like Clip Studio Paint. So those are my guesses. I have not looked up what they actually used, so these are my blind guesses. Let me know in the comments. So I'm excited to watch more. I'm gonna keep going. I gotta give this episode, because of how hype I have all the hype for it. I gotta give it like a solid, it's like a 7.5 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one. The algorithm really likes that. If you want a fast track movie review, you can do that for $20 deals at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you like to help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movie reviews, you can go to this link tree, find the way. You can help support the daily grind of all them daily movie reviews, so you can go here. And until next time, in salad saw, I'll see you later about sour croutons and baked bits. I'm in sound and I saw Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. It is created by Brian Lee O'Malley. Episode 3, Ramona Rents a Video, is directed by Moko Chan. And if you haven't seen this episode, I will spoil it for you. This episode starts with following young Neil, and he feels the urge to create a screenplay, but has writer's block, and then some mysterious figure in the night makes it for him. And I'm like, that's weird. I wonder what that could be. And then that's it. That's the scene. So that scene really just left me wondering. I'm sure it'll be shown soon. I'm very curious about this subplot. Ramona, very curious about Scott Pilgrim stuff, looks at a bunch of security footage. It's like, oh wow, I can't believe it. He's in a portal. Where does this portal lead? And I'm like, looking at this, reacting. I'm like, man, I kind of wish he was dead. Like, just personally, I just wish he was like, didn't exist anymore. But, you know, of course he exists. There's a big old fight between Ramona Flowers and Roxy. And I thought this fight was really cool. I liked the part where there's like a bunch of bookshelves on top of them. And they actually are like going from like book to book with like certain different worlds within their books. And I thought that was pretty cool. I really liked that. I thought it was really creative. And also like the camera going flippity floopity flop. I thought I was also really cool. I just, you know, enjoyed it. I enjoyed them fighting. I was like, yes, they're fighting. Heck yeah. And also, it seems like Ramona Flowers is now really focused on finding a way to get Scott Pilgrim back from this portal world. I do appreciate, though, how we have Ramona and Roxy, you know, they're exes, but they do have a little chat. They apologize, and I'm like not expecting them to apologize. It's like, oh wow, they actually are just going to be nice to each other. And Roxy is really hitting on Ramona Flowers. I mean, wow. She's like, yeah, do you want to have sex? You want to have sex later? And Ramona be like, no, that's never on the table. I know who you are. I know you're like, you sure you want to one kiss? No, stop that. And I'm like, Roxy, respect her boundaries immediately, outright. You gotta, but whatever. I guess it's fine. I guess it's all right. I'm just glad that they're now friends. They can be friends. Ramona has some friendships with her exes now, which is nice. Remember Gideon? Yeah, he lost everything. He lost everything to a bet, and now all he has is Julie. And Julie is like, hey, bud, come here. His name is revealed to be Gordon, but I really like Gideon more. That's a cooler name. I mean, Gordon is reserved for the likes of Gordon from Batman. Okay? That's the guy I envision, not frickin' Gideon. Okay, Gideon's like a nerd type. I think Gideon fits him more. Just this personal opinion. What do you think? Do you think Gordon or Gideon fits Gideon's name more, I guess? What do you think? What do you think? Leave it in the comments below. Overall, I just find this episode to be... It's fun. It progresses the plot. I felt a little bit of a whiplash between each different plot point in the episode that's being progressed, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember what happened episode. Oh, okay, this kind of ended a little bit suddenly. I want more from the progression, but it's also like 20 minutes or whatever, however long the episodes are. So I get it. I'm supposed to binge watch these. These are bite-sized pieces of Scott Pilgrim. So I gotta give this episode. It's like a 7. It's a 7 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one. The algorithm really likes that. If you want a fast track movie review, you can do that for $20 dinos at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you'd like to help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movie reviews, you can go to this link tree, find the way you can help support the daily grind of all them daily movie reviews. So you can go here. And until next time, in salad sauce, see you later, my sour croutons and bacon bits. I'm in salad and I saw Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. It is created by Brian Lee O'Malley. This is episode 4, whatever. It's directed by Akitoshi Yokoyama. And if you haven't seen this episode, I will spoil it for you. This episode starts and we have Ramona meeting up with her ex and talking about a film that he's played in. First of all, Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life is the film. And I thought this was fun. I liked this choice of movie, and also I liked the jokes that the episode were making. It was basically like a movie premise of what would happen if Scott Pilgrim actually lived to beat Matthew. And so I was like, oh, what if this Precious Little Life turned out to be Scott Pilgrim versus the world? You know, what if they were creating that? That was my first thought. And so I was like, oh, I like this. And also what's interesting is, like the last few episodes, like each little plot thread, it connects with each episode. Like it jumps off from each episode. There's not like much retouch once they cover a certain subject in in any episode, any of these Scott Pilgrim Takes Off episodes. I've noticed is that we see one scene, and then we see another scene with a different group of people, and then it's kind of like back and forth. It's like A plot, B plot, rather, which I appreciate. It also makes it so I want to see the further episodes, the episodes coming up ahead, because every time a scene ends, I'm just like, what is happening? I want to know more. Look, Ramona just wanted to know some information on this portal about Scott, but no one's given her any information. Instead, she's dealt with my paparazzi. Paparazzi be like, taking photos, annoying stuff. I get it, it's annoying. I also think wear some cool shades. I think that's a paparazzi proof. That's like bug spray for paparazzi. Some cool shades in a hoodie, I've heard. Lucas and Ramona. So we're seeing Lucas again. He's back. They're kind of like talking, Ramona and Lucas, and they have like a little friendship moment. And then what's interesting is that some of the other exes come via portal, and they're like, gotcha. And then that's the end of the episode. Honestly, I felt this was a little is discombobulated a good word for it? It felt messy. I felt this episode was a little bit messy. It was hard for me to really follow it straight. I really liked the first 2 episodes, and then these past 2 episodes, episode 3 and 4. This one especially, it just feels like I feel like it's harder for me to like keep track of everything because of how like bouncy everything is across the wall. But overall, it's fine. I'm intrigued. I mean, I'm mostly interested in understanding and knowing what happened to Scott Pilgrim. I mean, I didn't see a portal, but that's fine. I didn't need to see a portal. I honestly wish Ramona the best. Everyone else, I don't really particularly care about because I like Ramona the most. Ramona has cool hair colors. You want me to like you? People other than Ramona Flowers? How about you dye your hair every episode? Okay? Make a whole process out of it. I don't see you dyeing your hair, so Ramona Flowers is my babe, and I'm glad that she's the main character in this. So I gotta give this episode a solid 6.9 out of 10. If you like this episode, watch another one. The algorithm really likes it. If you want to fast track a movie review, I can do that for $20 dinos at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you like to help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movies, go to this link tree, find the way you can help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movies. You can go here. And until next time, mint salad sauce. See you later, my sour croutons and bacon bits. I'm in salad and I saw Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. It is created by Brian Lee O'Malley. This is episode 5, Lights, Camera, Sparks. It's directed by Rishio Moriyama, and if you haven't seen this episode, I will spoil it for you. This episode starts and Ramona is cast as Envy's stunt double, which is interesting. I'm like, alright, cool. You're gonna go into a movie. The episode pretty much starts like, oh, wow, she's in the air. Why is she here? And then she explains it in one line, which is like, oh, well, I'm here because I'm here to follow a plot line. I'm trying to get to the people. I'm trying to find some information on how to look for the portal that Scott was sucked into and who's responsible for that portal. And I'm like, okay, good choice. It's very Scott Pilgrim thing to do is to like have one really long on sentence and then like the saying this thing to a random person and that person like what's happening? So yeah, so we have Ramona Flowers is working on a movie set, and we also have Envy is hitting on Wallace, and then there's like a weird feud thing. There's a lot of making out, and I mean like a ton, so many times where they make out mid-scene, and I'm like, bro, stop, you're working, just do what you're told. You don't have to make out right now. But they can't get their hands off of each other. Basically, Ramona's like, oh, I need some information. Give me some information, please, about this portal. And then people be like, oh, actually, I don't know anything about this portal. And then Ramona's like, God dang it, I'm on a false end. Matthew Patel arrives. And then he fires everyone. Which I'm like, okay, interesting. And then the reason why he fires everyone is that he doesn't want this movie to come out because it slanders his name. I'm like, bro, you're risking people's food for your ego? Oh my goodness, take a chill pill. And it's like, oh my goodness gracious. I hope nothing bad happens. Matthew Patel does not know how to use his power with responsibility. I just don't remember. This is so hard. It's like this episode, the way it's laid out is hard to follow it. The conversation between Ramona Flowers and Matthew Patel is very confusing. From this conversation, Matthew is telling that actually Gideon is Gordon. But I thought that Julie and Gideon knew each other. And Lord's saying like, oh, Gordon. Oh, I haven't been called that name in a while, says Gideon last episode. And then I'm just kind of confused as to why Matthew knows this information Why does he know this? Did I miss something? This episode is like, it's hard to keep track of everything too. The way that this episode is presented, it's in a way where, oh, here's the drama that's happening, and then like some like flashbacks to some stuff, or like some quick cuts to like, oh, like someone describing like the Wallace and Envy making out constantly, for example. That's like, oh yeah, they're doing that, but that's like in the middle of a conversation, and there's a lot of that going on, and I'm just like, this is a little confusing. It's hard for me to keep track of. And then the episode ends and it's cozy. It's a cozy ending. It looks like they're like under blankets or whatever. And then that's the end. And I'm like, what? This episode made me feel confused. Like, oh no. I feel like I like the fight scene. I'm a big fan of the fight scene. I wish there was more fight scene, more epic fight scenes. There's like mini fight scenes, and then there's like some dialogue, which is fine. I just feel like there should be bigger fight scenes. Just a personal thing. First of all, I do like Ramona Flowers a lot. She is the most focused person. She wants to figure out what the heck's happening with Scott and the portals. And then the stuff around that's happening, that's where I like lose a grasp on like what the specific things are happening, because I'm interested in Ramona Flowers trying to figure out what the heck is happening with Scott, and everyone around her doesn't know anything, which is annoying, personally. So I gotta give this episode like a solid, it's like a 6.7 out of 10. If you like this episode, watch another one. The algorithm really likes that. If you want to fast track a movie review, you can do that for $20 Dinos, patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you'd like to help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movie reviews, go to this link tree, find the way you can help support the daily grind of all them daily movie reviews, so you can go here. And until next time, in Salad Saw, I'll see you later. My sour croutons and bacon bits. I'm in Salad and I saw Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. It is created by Brian Lee O'Malley. Episode 6 is Who Did It? Directed by Takakazu Nagatomo. And if you haven't seen this episode, I will spoil it for you. This episode starts following Gideon and also Lucas, and they become friends and they have a good old time together. And I'm like, you know what? Good for you. Glad you're good. You're doing good. You're having friendship. We're introduced to this as Ramona goes over to Julie's house. I do like we can hear Gideon just yelling in the back. He's like, hey, give me some chips. I need some chips. Me need some chips. She's not like your servant guy. You have legs too. And it's fun because I do like the style of having Ramona and Julie talking. I do like having Julie be like, hey, he's not gonna like do anything. He's not doing anything. You don't have to worry about him. You don't have to worry about him at all. And so I also, Ramona has this list she's like keeping track of. She's like marking people down. She's going to people being like, hey, do you know anything about this portal? First of all, I think just personally, if someone knew about a portal, they wouldn't tell you about it. Like later in the episode, Gideon says something. He's like, oh, I have this master plan. Yes, it was all a ruse. And I believe him. Okay, I think that you do have some sort of master plan. You did manipulate Ramona, and now there's like no eyes on you. There's eyes on these twins, actually. And now they're investigating these twins, like, oh, these twins actually did the dirtiness. And a lot of drama. I feel it's hard for me to get my head wrapped around it. I do like how Knives is just naturally gifted at a piano. She's naturally gifted at any musical talent. She picks it up. Like, she's been, like, playing for, like, 4 hours. It seems like every time she picks up an instrument, her answer is, oh, I've been playing it for 4 hours. And then she plays it, and then and she's having a fun time, and then she's actually really good. And I'm like, wow, I like her a lot. She's like a musical prodigy, and also she's getting signed. She's getting like record deals or something. She's getting signed to a theater act. I think she has record deals in her future. I think she has theater record deals in her future. I think she has big potential, and I think that Knives needs to work. She needs to keep on doing it. She needs to keep on working. She needs to keep on doing the thing. They all have a conversation. It's all conversational, having fun time conversation, all that conversational stuff, you know, and then knock, knock, knock. Who's at the door? Scott Pilgrim. You know, okay, first of all, I should mention the conversation Ramona is having is, okay, we gotta find out who did this portaling, who's done doing the portaling, and she's like crossing people off. She's like, oh, the vegans aren't like that good at portaling. They're not that powerful. And I'm like, okay, I like it. I like this investigation. I enjoy the investigation of Ramona. But then we have Scott Pilgrim. He knocks on the door, and then he's like, oh, hi, I'm here. And then Ramona be like, oh my goodness, where have you been? What, is it been the portals? Is it all the portals that's happening? Is it the vegans? Is it, what's happening? And then Scott Pilgrim is just exactly flat out repeats everything she said. He's like, yes, it's this. And I'm here. And I'm like, and then the episode ends, and I'm like, left with that. I'm like, what? I just had like a what? Oh my goodness. What did I watch? You know, I think like halfway through this episode, I'm like, oh wow. I will continue watching the episode because I am big on completion, but I also want to see where this episode, like where this arc goes. But I'm like, man, this show is not made for me. I don't think I am the target audience. I do recognize that it's good. It's like good art. Like, I really like the animation style. It feels like, I don't know. It feels all over the place for me. This episode is like still all over the place. This review is also really all over the place. Like this, I feel like my reviews reflect. My review reflects how over the place this is. Oh man. Overall, I just think that there's like a particular style. And I recognize the art style, and I think that I just am not a big fan of that style of like the dialogue show, like just kind of talking about things, and it's just like a socially engaging way. It's like conversational. I like the conversational stuff. I just wish that I was shown more. My brain just keeps being fried. So honestly, I think I gotta give this episode like a solid, like, it's like a 6.4 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one. The algorithm really likes that. If you want to fast track a boo review, you can do that for $20 dinos, patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you'd like to help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movies, go to this link tree, find the way you can help support the daily grind of all them daily movies, so you can go here. And until next time, in salad, I'll see you later, my salad croutons and bacon bits. I'm in salad and I saw Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. It is created by Brian Lee O'Malley. This is episode 7, To Scott, To Pilgrim. It is directed by Kenji Meiba. And if you haven't seen this episode, I will spoil it for you. This episode starts very trippy. Scott Pilgrim's in this weird time portal thing, and he goes, he does a little right? And I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool animated. I was like, oh, this must be when Scott Pilgrim was punched through the portal. Interesting. What is he doing here? Also, he meets old Scott. He's like 37, this old Scott that he meets. How old is Scott now? 23? Okay, we have a 23-year-old meeting a 37-year-old, and I'm just curious. Where did life go wrong? Okay, we have freaking old Scott be like, hey, I'm gonna take you to this virtual guy, which is a virtual boy. It's a virtual boy, but it's virtual guy, and it's a time travel machine, which is pretty cool. I was like, whoa, you have a time travel machine? Old Scott Pilgrim be like, yeah, I got myself a time travel machine. Of course I do. And I want you to go back in time, and I want you to never meet Ramona Flowers ever again. Never date her. I'm just like, why is everyone always trying to go back in the past to change things? Why don't you move forward? Move forward. Of course, old Scott, which is fun. The perspective changes from young Scott, current Scott, and current Scott being the 37-year-old, to being old Scott and current Scott, and the current Scott being the 23-year-old. They're still at Wallace's place, and Wallace's husband works for Nintendo. This was my face when I saw that. I was like, oh, it's a reference. This episode has a lot more references than the other episodes. A lot more of them. Old Scott Pilgrim be like, don't date Ramona Flowers, it's her fault. And it's funny, the old Scott won't tell young Scott what's up, what happened to the relationship. Maybe he could change something. Nope. No, rejection. Instead, we're going to old Ramona. And old Ramona also has a time travel device to make sure that they don't date. But wow, look, it's young Ramona. Current timeline in the show. Still looking for Scott. And they find this to be endearing and then bring Scott home. Why do they both have time travel machines? I know the episode is like, you guys both have time travel machines? And it's like, oh yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. And I'm just like, remember the screenplay that young Neil was kneeling around writing about, and he had a ghost come and be like, oh, here's your screenplay. Yeah, that was old Ramona. And she made that so young Neil would be a screenplay writer, and it'd be some nice sweet thing for Scott Pilgrim. And then she blesses, and then they get sent home. And actually, it's Scott Pilgrim and Knives are talking now. Wow, so sudden. I don't feel any sense of journey. I just feel like I'm just being transported to random places. And since Ramona and Scott can't kiss, they're gonna have a little bit of a kissu. But they can't have a little bit of a kissu. No, can they? No, there's a barrier. And there's unresolved business. And you know what that means? We gotta bring all the evil exes and bring them to a stadium and have them walk on the catwalk and walk and do all the walking. I don't think I've commented on the animation because the animation previous episodes, very, very same quality, still pretty good. I like the art quality. In this episode, there was a few moments where I was like, oh, yeah, there is some art animation weirdness happening here. Like, I remember the weirdness happening is the weird perspectives. Having from the low angle where they're talking at the table, and Ramona's arm was drawn weird and wonky because it was a weird perspective. I just wonder why they chose these weird perspectives. There's a lot of weird perspectives in this, actually. And that's how the episode ends. It ends with Ramona Flowers. Hey, come here. We're gonna fight. We're gonna fight all my exes. It's time to go in. We're gonna do the finale. And then that's how the episode ends. And I freaking am annoyed. You wanna know what makes me annoyed? The thing that makes me annoyed is not how jumpy around this entire episode is. It's not that the entire crux of the series is Ramona Flowers trying to find Scott Pilgrim, and instead of there being a natural payoff where we have Ramona Flowers find Scott Pilgrim, instead Scott Pilgrim is delivered to Ramona Flowers' doorstep, and then the episode later is explaining all of that nonsense jargon, and then that's the finale, and I'm like, this isn't a good television series show. This is my hot take. This show isn't good. Another thing that annoyed me, throughout this entire series, they say Columbo. The first time they said Columbo, I was like, oh my goodness, they said Columbo. And then they kept saying Columbo instead of saying, oh yeah, no shit, Sherlock. It's, oh, no worries, Columbo. Yeah, I got you, Columbo. And it's like, you didn't do a Columbo reference, so you just keep saying his name. If you're gonna tease me with Columbo, you gotta do Scott leaving a room and then coming back and be like, oh, one more thing, and have him do the Peter Fox squinting thing, okay? If you're gonna reference Columbo, you better be very, what is it called? Oh, what word am I blanking on? You better be dedicated. You better be dedicated to referencing Columbo. You gotta take all your Columbo references, grab them from underneath all your sleeves, and chuck them out. Don't just reference Columbo for no reason. Don't just do that. This episode makes me a rage. I gotta give this episode a solid 5 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one. The algorithm really likes that. If you want a fast track of movie review, you can do that for $20 DMs on patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you like to help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movies, go to this link tree, find the way you can help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movies. So you can go here. And until next time, in salad sauce, see you later to my sour croutons and bacon bits. This episode just made me feel like... I'm in sound and I saw Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. It is created by Brian Lee O'Malley. This is episode 8, The World versus Scott Pilgrim. Do you get it? Because the movie was called Scott Pilgrim versus the World. This episode is directed by Takuya Fujikura and Takakazu Nagatomo. This episode starts with Scott Pilgrim really fighting. He has them fighting fists up in the air. He's waving them like he don't care. And he'd be like, hey, Evil X, are you the cause of all this? Why are you causing me to not kiss Ramona Flowers and everyone doesn't care about them? Gideon and Julie are together. They're having a grand old time just having a fun chill together. And I'm glad all the exes of Ramona can resolve themselves with Ramona and move on with their lives. I thought this part was pretty funny. Oh, you want to fight me? You want to have a little fight? No, not really, dude. You want to fight me? Oh, man, this finale sucks. When they started breaking the wall, the fourth wall, they went meta on me. I was like, no, you don't get to be meta on me. You didn't do this during the entirety of the series. The only time you went meta, but at the very end of last episode, the very last line was, are you ready for this grand finale? Very much like She-Hulk. They all go into this movie theater. They have a little sit. Oh, we're having a sit. Woo! I wonder why Ramona and Scott Pilgrim can't kiss. And then the landscape changes. Instead, we have all of them on this moon thing. They're on some sort of moon surface. And actually, it's older, even older Scott Pilgrim, 47 years old. And they're just here, they're talking. Why are you here? He has a time machine. He clearly still has feelings for Ramona. And he's like angry at her. You're not allowed to kiss her. I put that thing on you. You're not allowed to kiss her. And then they all fight. This is the fun part of the episode, is when they have that really big fight. And the animation here is pretty sweet. I'm a big fan. I'd be like, yeah, this entire series should have just been this. Why couldn't this entire series been this? Budget reasons? What's interesting is there's some small tiffs. There's some small tiffs before this big 30-second fight that happens, but all the small tiff fights are maybe 5 seconds or less. This is throughout the entirety of the series, and this has always annoyed me, because I want to see a series where if there's going to be any major fighting, you gotta dedicate to the fighting. You gotta brawl down, you gotta get all your aura, and you gotta get all your energy out, and then you gotta blast each other. You gotta do it for at least 2 minutes on screen, at least. Give it some weight, please. I feel like all of these moves, they're just here to fight old Scott, and he's also incredibly powerful. There's a moment where Ramona Flowers is saying this exact word, this exact phrase. You know, if that's who you're gonna turn into be, you know, I don't wanna date you, actually. It's sad. Scott Pilgrim clearly doesn't want to be that guy, providing the realest message that this show could provide in the most plain way possible. You know, I could change and not turn into that guy. I don't want to become that guy, actually. That part I actually enjoyed. That part I was okay with. I was just thinking this series should have had more moments like this. More moments where the very end, or maybe the end of an episode, there's something that Ramona learns about herself, or Scott Pilgrim learns about himself, even though he only shows up for the past 2 episodes. Older Ramona comes. She also has a time travel device that was established last episode. She comes, hey, old Scott, what are you doing? Why are you fighting? You left her for 10 years? He left her because he thought that they were done, which is sad, but Ramona didn't explicitly say they were done. She just needed some space, and Scott Pilgrim took this as a sign that Ramona never wanted to be with him ever again, and so they took a 10-year split, and they can't come back together anymore because it's been 10 years. I'm just thinking, hey, Scott Pilgrim, you don't have to be that guy. And Scott Pilgrim saying this exact same thing. Oh, I don't have to be that guy. Which is nice. Also, all the friends teleport into the theater, and then it's Scott Pilgrim and Ramona fighting older Scott Pilgrim. And then at the very end of the fight, where both Ramonas hug each other and then fuse into this being, this fiery being, with some sort of celestial being. My first thought was, oh, it's like Steven Universe. They literally just morph like Steven Universe, but they're actually doing a Sonic reference, and I've never played any of the Sonic games, so I didn't get that reference. Ramona decides to stop running from what she loves. Very nice. It's funny that this entire series has Ramona trying to search for who she loves. Trying to look for Scott Pilgrim. Trying not to run. She's not running, which is cool, and I'm glad that she's not running, and she won't run, and she'll stick with Scott Pilgrim. And they have a little bit of a kissu, and their kissu seal is broketh. And also, we gotta talk about Gideon, because he has some extra villainy stuff happening. TNT to the theater! Because reasons! His literal reason, I don't know. You know why you attach TNT to that theater is because you're sad. You're sad that Matthew has your wealth. Matthew can't deal with your wealth. He wants to give it back to you. So all the strings are coming together, tied together, being all tied together, nice and fresh and loose and all clean and cut and all that fun jazz. All of this stuff's happening at the very end of this episode. And I have one thought remaining. One more thing. I do like how we see everybody is going across their own ways. They're having fun. Lucas becomes a barista, which is nice. Everybody comes together. Knives joins Sex Bomb and is an amazing pianist and makes this sound great. I was noticing the pianist doing the solo thing. I was like, wow, doing a solo. As all the other episodes, this episode is very scattershot. Very much so. For the first third of this episode, there was no fight. And I really hated that there was no fight. And then we got to the fight with old Scott Pilgrim, and I really liked that fight. And then we got to the end with the nice jam session and closing off everybody else's stories. My thought was, thank God this is over. It's too scattershot for my brain. I wish any of these episodes really stuck with we're following Ramona Flowers, and she's going along a trail, and then along the trail she meets some people that she has to deal with. But instead, she just goes freaking everywhere. She goes everywhere, and any of the episodes that she's in can't decide whether to focus on her or to focus on the supporting cast, which I barely care about, because this show didn't make me care about them at all. I only care about Ramona Flowers and her journey to find Scott Pilgrim, and then that is taken away from me by the end of episode 6, and then wow, Scott Pilgrim is actually here in the future? And then also he has to fight his older self. I know the movie was very much about Scott Pilgrim learning to love himself and to defeat all the exes, defeat all the bad things that the exes have done to Ramona, and to make sure he doesn't repeat all those same mistakes, right? It seems like this episode is Scott Pilgrim trying to fight against the older version of himself. I mean, he's literally doing that, but it's fighting against the idea of him aging and growing bitter. That's what I got from this ending. I was watching this final episode, and I was just so angry. You should have seen my face. Here's my face, what it was. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it. Whatever. Ugh. Wow. They kissed? Oh no, they would kiss. Beginning of this series, there's so much hype. I was so excited. Oh man, Scott Pilgrim. I've heard so many complaints about Scott Pilgrim dies in the first episode. Clearly not. He's clearly not dead. That's the thing that I don't have a complaint with about this series. The thing that I have a complaint with about this series, it's all over the place. It won't choose which character to focus on. I want to see characters talking to each other. I want to see some character development. Lady, I don't care for you to be some paper boats along this plot river. Wow, you're the plot. We are on the plot river. We got some paper boats, and they're being moved in service of the plot. Not the characters driving the plot. We just have random characters just show up out of nowhere. That's not characters driving the plot. They're just showing up out of plot convenience. And that's this entire series, is people just show up out of plot convenience. I spat everywhere. I'm so angry. This series is the most disappointing thing I've ever taken up. This show is even more disappointing than Velma, because at least I knew Velma was going to be bad. I had hopes for the show to be good. The very beginning, where they did the twisteroo. Wow, I can't believe it. Scott Pilgrim actually went through a portal. Also, I should mention how much retconning there is in the show. They retconned that Scott went through a portal. They retconned that we gave some juicy juice put in your drink and gave it to you, Scott Pilgrim, and now you can't kiss her. We retconned that. We retconned the animation. We'll show it when it's relevant instead of showing it when it's needed and when I'll notice it as an audience member. Be like, huh, hey, I saw him do that thing. I wonder how it'll show up later in the plot. No, let's just tell it to me right here, right now. Oh, actually, I did do that thing. And here's a little bit of a flashback to explain why I did that thing. And this isn't the type of storytelling that I want in my media. I thought Scott Pilgrim Takes Off would be better than just telling me random convoluted things, retconning things. Oh, Scott Pilgrim got taketh through a portal. You didn't see it. But actually, let me reanimate the scene. Look, it's a portal there. What I saw from the first episode was no portal. It was a bunch of coins. I didn't get shown that. I wish I was shown that. Or maybe it was like subtle. Maybe if I caught a glance of it. You keep making Columbo references. Oh, maybe use your amazing Columbo reference big brain skills and make a better mystery plot, because Because I don't care. Speaking of Columbo references, where are the Columbo references? Why you just gotta say Columbo's name all the time? Oh, I'm so cool. I watched Columbo. You clearly didn't learn anything from Columbo. You clearly didn't learn how to write a good mystery script, a how catch 'em. You didn't even write a good how catch 'em or who done it. Well, I don't have much else to say. I think I gotta give this episode specifically like a 4 out of 10. This entire series, oh, it's so disappointing. I'd give it a 5 because the beginning is good, the end sucks. If you like this review, watch another one. The algorithm really likes that. If you want a fast track movie review, you can do that for $20 deals at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you'd like to help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movie reviews, go to this link tree, find the way you can help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movie reviews. So you can go here. And until next time in Salad Saw, I'll see you later, my salad croutons and bacon bits.